Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Harachak, Wadash, the honor spent to the apostles and others at Great Millstone, who rule well and taught us this 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, whole food, like that to push not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you Akim say Shalom. The accurate I'm from the servants Yahweh, Yahweh Shai Cam coming in with the quick lesson or quick video going into how the U.S. did not shoot a Chariot. I repeat, the U.S. did not shoot a Chariot. And this is coming in after various reports about ABC News reporting a cylindrical object shot over the skies of Alaska instead of, just entitling it a balloon. Alright, so you got these people out here thinking that, supposedly a so-called UFO, which we all know that they're really the chariots of the Lord. Supposedly one of them got downed by a U.S. fighter jet, which is completely ridiculous and bogus because, that totally goes against the scriptures. All right, the first piece that came to mind was in the book of 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, verse 40, and it reads, "There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another." And an example that, could be these vehicles. All right, you got a chariot, a flying vehicle, and you got a fighter jet, a flying vehicle. One is from the heavens, from the spirit realm, and it's built by spiritual material, whereas these fighter jets, they're built using, elements, all right, things found in the ground, All right, that's an example of a celestial body and a body terrestrial. And it says, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another, because you cannot down the chariots, man. All right, when has there ever been any evidence of somebody being able to eliminate a spirit? Hey, they can't. Hey, like when the apostles, when they would do exorcisms in buildings, that's basically just kicking the spirits out. But you can't kill them. Or you can't kill a spirit. When the spirit is created, they're forevermore immortal. Or they just reincarnate in the flesh. So spirits cannot be killed. But digressing back, you cannot penetrate spiritual material. All right, like in the Chariots, you had a video of Iran. I always bring that same video out because it's like one of the few footages of military shooting their shots at the Chariots. But you have the Iranian military, they hit it, but nothing happened. Hey, that Chariot was just just flying around back and forth at full speed. All right, at a Mach that no human creation could ever achieve. All right, but I want to get at the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Really, that ultimately sums up the point that when these militaries go against the chariots, who's gonna lose? Hey, the militaries are. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, verse 3. It says, "And I behold, and lo, that man like strong with the thousands of heaven, and that man is Yahweh Shai, and the thousands of heaven being referring to the angels in the spirit world." As this is in the book of Jude, the 1st chapter. If I'm mistaken, it was verse 14. It goes into the Lord cometh with the thousands in heaven. So and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. All things trembled. And whatsoever the voice went out of his mouth, and that voice, all right, that came out of the mouth, it's talking about the lasers. All right, reason to say all they burned, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filleth when it filleth the fire. And you look into these various movies, where the opening, the hole of the chariot, which is in the bottom of it, it either shoots a beam to pick up stuff, or it just shoots lasers. That's the mouth. All right, that's a mouth. A hole, an opening. So that voice that burns is a lasers. So all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth filled when it filled the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was scattered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven, referring to all these militaries. All right, that sound like your PLA, your People's Liberation Army, over there in China. You got your USAF, the United States Armed Forces. You got the RF, Russian Federation, with all the other branches, and so on and so forth from all these other countries. Each single branch, they're all gonna get smoked. So out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. And that great mountain, referring to the biggest chariot we'll ever see when that time comes, because Yahweh Shai will be on the biggest chariot, and that's how you'll be able to distinguish what chariot he's on from the other speakers. The angels' chariots, they're going to be smaller. I remember the other apostle Tahar was going into that, how they're different lengths. You're going to have a chariot from the size of a bus, 2 buses, the size of a building, smaller than that, like a car, things of that sort. So they all differ in lengths, but Yahweh Shai's chariot is going to be the biggest one. Because it says, but I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. So you're not going to be able to see from point A to point B. All right, it's just going to cover up the sky, blot out the sky, just pure blackness. Like the only thing you'll be able to see with the naked eye, as far as the naked eye can see, will be about like 20,000 lights. That's it, around the chariot. Whereas you got, millions of lights more. But you can't see that far. So again, but I would have seen the region or place where the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, after Salakia, and lo, all they were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid. You guys will be sore afraid. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid. When you look into that word afraid, it basically means a feeling of fear or anxiety and frightened. Once upon a time, I was going to enlist into the United States Marine Corps. The Wada Yahweh Bashmi, which I was delivered from that, which I understand I can have gone to the military, back in the past. But I was speaking to one of the staff sergeants there, and this was before I was going to go to MEPS. He was preparing me on what to say. But, he made the mention how, all the 7 to 8 months of training or whatever, basically all the time he served, it's really, it's like it molded him, it basically made him confident, and courageous. And keep in mind, most recruits are wimpy. Then they come out, being all rude and whatnot. We understand that military humor and military cultures, cannot compare to that of the civilian life. All right, they live a different lifestyle than we. But, those same guys out there that are brave will be the same ones afraid, And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst to fight. And that word to durst means to dare. All right, to dare. So, hey, you guys gonna, go ahead with it, but that'll be your downfall. Hey, see, so it goes on to say, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Hey, so Yahweh Shai is not even gonna, do anything. He's just gonna sit back and relax in his chair. It's like on his chair, inside the chariot. And with the push of a button, with the flick of a button, he presses that red button in the cockpit. That red button in the cockpit, and you have all that fire just come out of the chariot and blow them all up together. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. See, so even Ezra was afraid. So that, if the prophets having these visions were afraid, how much more when that real deal comes? It's gonna be terrible, but it's also gonna be, a beautiful time. But some pieces came to mind if I can remember them. If I can get it out, but with me, Akim. All right, so this is the book of Revelation 19th chapter, verse 15. But go Shabbat with me. It reads. All right. Actually, I'm gonna start it off at verse. I was gonna get out verse 15, but I'm gonna start off at verse 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, which that white horse is referring to a chariot, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war, and that Faithful and True is Yahweh Shai. All right, and he's coming here to war. All right, to, like there's this video game called The Division, and you have this faction called the Hunters, and what they do is that they kill division agents, and they collect their division, their shade watches, their strategic homeland division watches. So Yahweh Shai is about to collect some crowns, collect some bounties. So, and he was like his eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Power. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses upon white horses. So, those are the chariots. The angels, they're the army. The host of heaven. When you look at that word host of heaven in Spanish or a different translation, it really translates to an army. So, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, also chariots, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. So, any time about Yahweh Shai, coming in on a physical, literal animal horse that's floating in the skies, and you got these, pale angels that could also be women or babies, whatever, and they got these little wings on them, and they're just flying down no. You got no baby angels. There's no such thing as a Cupid. There's no such thing as a female angel, and they're not going to be flying down by them individually by themselves. Down from heaven. No, that's not what's going to happen. Hey, they're going to be on chariots. They're going to come down from the heavens on chariots. Now they could fly. Yeah, they could. They have wings. Yeah, they could. Yeah, they do, because, there's a breakdown going in the book of Ezekiel. Well, the alchemy to mention how they could actually shapeshift. But that ain't going into how they're going to shapeshift as themselves, as an eagle or whatever. No, it's talking about how they're just going to come down, on the chariots, and that's what it means by white horse. White horse. So, going back, it says, in verse 15, the point right there, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of almighty power. And the point was right there in the top, and out of his mouth goeth the sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. So, he's about to get dirty with it, man. He's about to get busy with it. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Alright, but I just wanted to get that, just get those quick precepts out and break down the point that the U.S. did not shoot a chariot, and no mortal man can do that. You cannot penetrate a chariot. They are invincible. They are indestructible. Alright? They are spiritual vehicles of the Lord. And as a matter of fact, these chariots are about to, they're the only ones that could penetrate, military equipment. They have the power to do so. All right, with one laser beam being shot at you, you got a whole fleet of jets just blowing up in sequence. All right, but I'm gonna end it off right there, Akim. And Lord, will this system was edifying. Until the next one, I say shalom.